Now I'm honored to welcome Mark Beckles, Vice President of Social Impact and Innovation at RBC. Mark Beckles is a pillar of our community. In Toronto and across Canada, he leads the RBC Social Impact and Innovation team as Vice President within the RBC Corporate Citizenship and ESG team. With a leadership style that puts young people and those who need support and understanding at the center of his work. He has been driving social impact and creating change over a career that is defined by his personal and professional desire to see every person reach their fullest potential. His gumption and dedication is what sets him apart of other executives, and we are pleased to have him today. Welcome, Mark.
Good morning, everyone, and congratulations on yet another successful and compelling conference. Let me start by first apologizing for being a few minutes late for the conference today. I wasn't late because I don't have respect for you. I was actually late because I was at an International Women's Day event where we were celebrating diversity and the strength and the capabilities and passion of women that help to shape all that we do and all that we are at RBC. But this, I will tell you, is going to be a really powerful day for me because I left that event celebrating my female colleagues now to join the future of our nation, which is you, our young people. So give yourselves a big round of applause. I would tell you that I have looked forward to this event on an annual basis because the Students' Commission of Canada, which is arguably one of our most important partners at RBC Corporate Citizenship and the RBC Foundation, helps to validate the work that we do and to anchor everything that we do in putting young people first. And I would say that I think this is about my fifth Canada We Want conference, and there is not a conference that I haven't been to where I've not gone back and we as a team haven't gone back and challenged ourselves to think about what more do we need to do to ensure that we set young people up for success? What more do we need to do to ensure that we're listening to you, that we move beyond talk and we move beyond platitudes and we move beyond listening to actually translating everything that you offer into action? I would say that there was a time many years ago where a number of elected officials would also be part of this event. And I think just based on what I've heard today and what I heard last year and the virtual conferences, I think one of the things that we need to do, Sharif, and we can work on this together, is we can actually mandate or ensure that our elected officials that have portfolio responsibility for youth and the well-being of youth are actually in attendance at this event and taking your recommendations back and integrating them in public policy. The late Dr. Martin Luther King, during his I Have a Dream speech, cautioned this notion of the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. I want you to think about that for a little bit, the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. We get so used to hearing ideas. We get so used to talking about them over and over and over again. And few people take accountability for actually doing anything about them, about those ideas, about making change. I would say to you once again, the mantle is yours as young people, as the future of this nation, to ensure that where you feel that you are not being listened to, that you can actually challenge institutions and you can challenge leaders and you can bring these ideas to bear in places and spaces to ensure that these ideas do not get lost. And that is how we break this whole notion of the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. I missed some of the earlier presentations, and normally one of the reasons I like to be here is so that I could actually make notes and synthesize what you are sharing. But one of my colleagues was good enough to ensure that I was prepared for the podium today. And your first presentation around truth leading to reconciliation is apropos, because if reconciliation is ever to happen as intended, it needs to be anchored in truth. Again, we talk about things, but we're not often as open to hearing truth. And the reality is that false promises have been made to Indigenous communities, and we all have an obligation to ensure that we make it right, that we support Indigenous communities across this country in accordance with the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And in that endeavor, we all have a part to play. Chat, pass, check. We do need to create more spaces for young people so that they can take part in important discussions. And this is one example of creating those spaces for young people. Spilling the tea on healthy relationships. I like the idea of creating an ism class, because we talk about the isms very passively. We need to talk about isms more intentionally. Racism, sexism, classism, those are all the isms that are actually slowing our progress as a society. And unless and until we can have intentional, meaningful, and deliberate conversations around the corruption of the isms on our society, we're going to get stuck. Over the influence and tackling the opioid crisis, I walked in at that point of the conversation, and the last comment I heard was just say no. And we know that that did not work. Just saying no does not work. Well, here's the thing. Just saying yes doesn't work either. Doing is what works. And making sure that young people have the support to be able to manage through the issues and challenges that they're facing with respect to addictions. And I stand here as a father of a young son who wrestled with addiction. So this is very personal for me. And what breaks my heart sometimes is the extent to which society goes to dismiss young people and or other members of society who are legitimately wrestling with addiction issues, and who, but for the resources that some are able to access, actually are cast aside. My son was fortunate that he had parents who had the resources to avail him of the support that he needed. And we're just happy that he is doing well today. I'm sorry. Canada's Food Guide, a website for a healthy food guide. There's no question that we all need to eat healthier food. One of my biggest frustrations is that healthy food costs so much more than synthetic or genetically modified food. Why the heck is that? Why is it that food that's not good for you is the cheapest, and it's mostly poor people that have access to that food? It is foisted on poor people. What I'm saying is that we have a collective responsibility to hold our leaders accountable for ensuring that healthy food is not just an aspiration, but healthy food is available to all of us, not by virtue of whom we are or where we live, by our postal code or anything of the sort. That healthy food is available to all of us in the name of equity. I love this one around culture across channels, and this is one that we talk about every year, and the international travel or international experience travel. Again, I can't stress enough the importance of engaging other cultures and other peoples in other parts of the world. And we can do that physically, we can do that digitally. But again, just listening to the presentations and watching the teams that were assembled on this podium before me, we can actually experience the cultures of Canada through conferences like Canada we want. Digital citizenship and so on. Again, I think that you, in fact, I don't think, I know that this generation, you are all what we call digital, and I don't even like this word, digital natives. But in the context of that word, it is talking about you being the first generation to have been born into a completely digital economy. You know the digital space far more than we do. And I think you are going to play an increasingly important role in helping to build community through the way in which you engage in the digital space. That Girl Eco Edition, there's no question that climate change is impacting the way that we live and is causing real stress on our personal lives. And for those of you who live in Toronto and its environs will know that this weekend we had an incredible snowstorm here. And you don't have to be a climate scientist to know that the climate is changing. The intensity of snowfall or weather patterns and the disruption of those weather patterns, if you're paying any attention, you know. And it is also creating anxiety. As an organization and as a bank, we are trying to do our part to support climate change. And we know that as a financial institution, we receive a lot of criticism around how and where we show up with respect to the climate space. But I am also, and I want to say this publicly, I am proud to work for a CEO of a major Canadian corporation that gets it and is leading on the climate space, or leading on the climate file and climate change, and really challenging this organization top to bottom to ensure that we, over time, become better stewards of the environment. And then work paths and finding the careers that we want. You know, that is such a critical pillar of RBC Future Launch. In fact, it is the raison d'etre of RBC Future Launch, to ensure that we set young people up for the future of work in order to fuel Canada's economic prosperity. We know through research that increasing numbers of young people are graduating from college and university feeling increasingly ill-prepared for the future of work. Young people are telling us that. Employers are telling us that. Unfortunately, educators say a different thing. What we've been doing as an organization is ensuring that you have access to the tools and enablers and conferences like this to ensure that you feel better prepared and better able to compete in the ever-changing world of work. And our hope is that as this conference continues and as we remain in partnership over the next number of years, and so you're hearing a commitment there, as we remain in partnership over the next number of years, that increasing numbers of young people who have the awesome privilege of participating in this and like events feel increasingly prepared to take the world on and to address the issues with confidence, such as what you spoke to today. And so with that, it is my privilege on behalf of 92,000 employees worldwide to say thank you for the opportunity to partner with you, and for my colleagues here to say it is a joy and a privilege to support the amazing work that you do all the time. Thank you.